Hey, everybody, and welcome to this very first episode of The Expedition. I'm John, and I'm here with Nick, and we're a part of the True North social team, and we're super excited to finally get this show underway. And what is this? This show is a LinkedIn Live series where we chart a course through B2B selling, particularly emphasizing social selling. And we're going to talk to leaders from the sales realm and figure out ways that they're innovating and learn about their stories and their strategies and what's working for them, and hopefully come away with some nuggets for anybody in B2B sales. So Nick, thanks for joining me, and I'm great to be kicking this show off with you, buddy.
Yeah, super exciting. This is our first one. We did try to launch this last week, and we had some technical issues. There's always gremlins when you're doing lives, but here we are, and I am super excited because it feels good to be back in the saddle, doing a podcast. So this is our debut episode. We couldn't have asked for a better guest. He's just stepped into a massive new role. He's got a bold vision for the future of his company. Please give a warm welcome to the new managing director of Amiga Red Group, Mr. Nick Marshall.
Hi guys.
Hey.
How are we? We okay?
Yes. Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. We're in the.
I'm super impressed with the opening titles. That's very good.
Yeah, that was that's all down to Mr. Joyce there.
Glad you liked it.
Yeah. Gets you in the mood. I said when it's blasting through your headphones, where you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, so the main focus of this show really is getting to know people like you, not you, but the other you over there.
The other
Exactly, you. And I just want to make sure to say right off from the bat, thanks for taking the time to come on this show with us. Thanks for taking the time to share your story and your experiences with anybody out there in LinkedIn land, and just chatting with us, and just to give the people at home an idea about who we're talking to, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your current role at Amiga Red and how you got into it.
Okay, no worries. Well, like I say, thanks for having me on the show, the first person on it. So I think it's a great thing that you're doing, that you're setting everything up in the right way and sharing knowledge, and that's the beauty about kind of the socials, isn't it? And we'll probably get into some of those discussions later on. But for myself, the business I represent is Amiga Red Group, which is the UK market leading earthing, lighting protection, surge protection, height safety solutions in the UK. Very much do like a full end turnkey solution, which includes survey, design, installation, testing and maintenance and repair solutions around those services. So whenever you give an introduction about lightning protection and earthing, people sometimes scratch their heads if they're not from the industry and say, well, what's all that about? So in kind of simple terms, the earthing systems is about ensuring that we have safe electrical grounding. Your lightning protection is about safeguarding the structures and systems from lightning strikes. And the surge protection is protecting the electrical equipment from voltage spikes from the lightning strike. And ultimately, height safety is preventing falls from height through engineered safety systems. So it's a great business. People might call it niche, but the technicality that we have within our full organisation is great. And as the role of the MD, my job is to grow the business, look at the strategic direction, think about the operational excellence and the delivery to make sure we deliver on our quality, expertise and safety message, build that people culture. And ultimately, it's probably about that governance, risk and compliance of our business against ISO standards, and also then making sure that our services deliver to keep our customers compliant in regards to the assets that they've got on their sites. Been in the role now 5 months, steep learning curve, but one that I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into.
Nice. Yeah, we were talking a little bit before the show started about imposter syndrome, and that stuff hits hard with me as well at the moment. It's but like you said, I think when you're doing that and that starts to hit, you're kind of in that growth zone. You're in that space. But it's like, this feels a bit uncomfortable, but Would that be fair to say?
It is, yeah. I think obviously we were talking before we came on the show that you're given a lot of responsibility as the managing director. You sat there that the business is just short of 27 million turnover, 250 people. You've got a lot of responsibilities now. The good thing is I've got a good support network around me in regards to my boss and the leadership team, my own management team as well. I've got the kind of support of colleagues, but yeah, it does kind of weigh heavy on the shoulders sometimes when you wake up in the morning and go, bit of intake of breath to go right. What's today bring? But that then comes back to the strategic intent, comes back to having a clear vision for the business, and also having the confidence of the people around you. If you point them in the right direction and you're clear about what that vision looks like, you're on the same trajectory, you're on the same path, rather than kind of going off on different directions. And that's where a lot of businesses struggle, because they're not kind of clear about the business identity and where we want to win. And that's, like I say, a massive part of the role, but it's one which I'm constantly learning. I'm at a finished article, but I've got a willingness to grow, learn, adapt, look at other people. And again, the beauty about socials, we keep coming back to that word socials, is using LinkedIn and learning from others, things that you see people post on a day-to-day basis. If you've got your receptors open, you sit there, you go, I like that. That's now registered. Now, you might do it in different ways, and you actually might fail trying to implement it. However, you're still trying to have that mindset that says, how do I make myself better? How do I make the business better?
I'm fascinated by that, how algorithmically LinkedIn sorts stuff and then feeds it up to us, and it changes our kind of mindset and our values based on that information flow. It's fascinating. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I think I get from LinkedIn, is how it enables you to learn more quickly, but in a way that I think that's one of LinkedIn's goals, is to help people grow, essentially.
Well, it's building that community into it. And I think, where do you get help from? You get help from others, and it's now making that far easier to engage in the network of people that you've got. And the more that you broaden your horizon with the people that you let come into your community, then that's kind of vastly important through different roles that people have got. And it doesn't matter what roles that we do. Some could turn around and go, you're an MD, but ultimately it's just a role and remit that you're delivering on. So forget about what the title says. It's about what you deliver and what your skills are. That's got nothing to do. The title doesn't define you. It's what you say, what you do, how you implement your actions, your values that come out on a day-to-day basis.
There's definitely some serendipity to that stuff as well, in terms of like who you let into your network and who you interact with, and I think that's sometimes where the magic happens, is in those little interactions, like people that you would have never kind of rubbed shoulders with or met in any other way is magic. So we're going to chuck in a little fun question now. So tell us about a moment in your career that was a total disaster at the time, but taught you a valuable lesson. Can you think of any?
We've only got a 30-minute session, haven't we? To be I built a career on carnage and chaos. Let me think.
We can always come back to
probably one that springs to mind, because actually it was the first time as well where probably that self-reflection really came into play, where you went, do you ever want to put yourself into that position again? And I was a naive 21-year-old out on the road sales repping for a company called Arco at the time, who I worked for 25 years at the end of it all. And you get out onto the road as a rep and you think, I've made it. Here we go. I can rock up to any call. Don't have to do much preparation. I've got a level of confidence, and I'll control any environment. And I can remember one of our clients asking me to go in. It was a laboratory up in Harrogate in North Yorkshire. And the guy had asked me to come in to do a product training session. And normally those product training sessions are probably to about 3 or 4 people, just like a little toolbox talk. So I've rocked up onto site. You got to remember, there's like nearly 4,000 people on this site. And I got to reception, and I can remember the guy's name now, John Joyce, who were like, oh my God. In fact, same name as yours, John. Oh my God. He says, you've come back to home, mate.
Maybe.
I never even made the connection until that story was coming out.
Wait, you're not kidding?
Yeah.
I thought you were kidding.
No. Honestly, we called John Joyce, and we got to the reception area, and this is where the alarm bells went off. He went, "Yeah, if we just walk through, we're now going to go into our auditorium." And I was like, "What?" And I was thinking to myself, "That doesn't sound good. That sounds like a big place. Like this lecture hall." And I got in there, and there were 50 people, and I'd done no preparation for this product trading session. I had some samples. I had a PowerPoint presentation from years gone by, which had been passed down, but I'd not done any form of run through it, no timings. And let's just say it were a car crash. It was just you're trying to make it up on the hoof. You don't know what slides are coming next. The timings were incorrect. Went way over the timings. Didn't ask for any questions because I think the fear had taken over. You just became quite insular and just to getting through that moment in time. And I think when I look back after that, I got into the car and after sweat coming down the forehead, it was just next time ask about target audience, ask about timings, ask about what are the objectives that I wanted to get from it. And it were a stark reminder about that level of professionalism and turning up every single day and making sure that you want to portray yourself in the right way. And I think at that point in time, it just, again, it goes back to that responsibility. You think to yourself, I'm representing a business here. I need to make sure that I do it in the right way. And from that point forwards, I started to take probably my profession more serious and kind of got my head down and got stuck into it. So that was the moment that really made me take a step back and go, I need to change my ways. But I can't believe the guy would call John Joyce as well. That's very bizarre.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm glad that my evil twin brother got to play a formative role in your development as a manager. That's kind of cool.
I'll bring another 50 people onto this presentation where I have to do a presentation to them, because that would be like going back down memory lane again and making me shudder.
You did bring the PowerPoints, right? I'll pull them up right here while you start that. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's interesting. It's a cool story. The connection is
time, John, but I can look back now and think to myself that these are the learning curves that you put, and sometimes you put yourself in those environments you don't need to put yourself in, because if I had done the right work up front, I'd have been fine. But that moment in time and that experience has left a moment on me that says that I'll never be caught that way again. And it comes back to that preparation. So through a failure comes a positive that it's changed the way that I was thinking at that point in time.
We've talked a bit about learning from each other, about using LinkedIn, and even learning on things that we've seen on LinkedIn from each other. So on the topic of LinkedIn, in previous conversations leading up to this, you had really talked about a desire to weaponize LinkedIn as a tactic because you felt like it was a competitive advantage, I guess, for you in your market. So I'm just curious if you could talk about what steps you're taking and what your, just in brief terms, kind of like what your strategy is for that.
I suppose where it originally came from as well, because I think that mindset started to change probably in 2019 when COVID dropped and suddenly you started to see LinkedIn just change overnight, and you've seen that evolve over this last 3 to 4 years, even further now. And it was like, I need to be at these races because the world is changing. Anyone that kind of reads my posts will know that I'm quite a reflective person. There's things that stick with me, and one of the quotes that I use quite often was by a futurist called Alvin Toffler, and in 1974 he said, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those that can't read or write; it's those that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." It's always stuck with me. He just kind of said to me, the selling techniques that we use as well, it used to be features and benefits. That used to turn up with a catalogue. That's now evolved and changed into this digital selling model, and it has to be a blend of all of that. And you need to make sure that you are relevant to your customer base, and where where are those conversations now taking place? They're now taking place online, and there's been a massive shift in those areas where I think when you start to look at some of the stats that sit behind it, they say that 75% of buyers will now start to evaluate things online. They'll use their network to do that. And then there's also this appeal and ask activity that's going on between the community of people that are linked together and this advocation. So if that's all changing, then we need to be amongst that then to be credible sellers. So to me, part of our strategy is trying to look at that blended approach of using multi-channels to engage with our customer through that selling process. And it's about showing up and showing our human side in how we present information, presenting our technical competence, giving something away and educating customers where they're going, well, where am I getting those pieces of nugget of information from? I'm getting that from the guys in Amiga, and then it's our job then to drive that through the sales funnel. But we've got to give something up to get something back, and it's not the lazy selling where we connect, drop into your inbox, and then I'm straight into selling mode, because that really isn't selling, is it? That's just, well, it is, but it's lazy selling. A lot of people are using AI tools to do that as well. You can see straight through it, and we kind of pride ourselves in Amiga that it's about people buy from people. It's about the technical competence that we bring, but understanding what the right solution is for the client. And you can only do that by having an engaging conversation and showing up and really understanding what our customers' pain points, and doing that through the research that you can see in what people talk about on their own LinkedIn corporate pages or on their own individual pages. It's been really mindful and cognizant in those areas that we need to change our ways of working because the world's changing, and it's a massive cultural change, and that's not lost on me. We're not going to take everyone to that destination overnight, but what we are trying to do is plant those seeds that gives them some of the stats and some of the insights that back up why we're taking this approach, because I use the word relevancy. We want to stay relevant. There's a younger workforce coming through that are using more and more of socials, and I think they say on average there people use it 2.5 hours a day to look for business research. So we need to make sure we're in the right channels to get in front of the right customers.
Yeah, 100%. There was something you mentioned in there. You brought up about the whole kind of automation piece and people kind of spamming people in their DMs, a kind of lazy way of selling. There's I think I mentioned this to you guys before we started. There's a guy that put a post up this morning about a company called Ample Market who were valued at 12 million on LinkedIn, and their entire business has now disappeared from LinkedIn precisely because they've been using automation tools. So 12 million valued company in terms of investment, had over 50 employees, and the whole company's gone, and the CEO's just disappeared from LinkedIn. So that goes to show you that, you know, trying to shortcut this process, and I think that's what, to me, LinkedIn is building genuine, real human relationships at scale.
Yes.
That's what it is to me, and I don't think you can't shortcut that process. There's a process to it.
There's a process there, and I think also there's a bit of upfront work that you've got to do, because everyone's chasing that sales number. They want it overnight, but that's not going to happen. It's more of a long-term play. But ultimately, if you're showing you as a person, you're showing up every day, that people buy from people, especially in the services world, and it's about that credibility, and it comes back to that kind of trust, isn't it? And the trust equation is about how you build credibility and intimacy with that customer, that they actually turn around and go, I feel like you're a safe pair of hands because I see you, that authenticity every single day. You turn up, you're talking about the same thing, you're talking about pain points, or you've got your customers talking about you. That's that kind of advocacy playing out right in front of your eyes, but you've got to be able to nurture and work that through the business, and get people to think, when I look at my day-to-day tasks, how much am I going to put onto spending time on LinkedIn? Because you can talk to more people at that point in time, and also you're getting real life feedback as you go based on the comments, the likes, and you can look at the data based on your target customers and who's viewing that information. So if you're sending an email or you're calling people, you don't get hold of them. You don't understand that level of impact. So it goes back to that insight-driven information. Why would you not use part of socials as part of your overall selling methodology? And that's why I'm a kind of a big advocate, and hopefully the way that I articulate it makes it clear to people that that's my own preference and stance. And I think that's the way that the market's going, because you see that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Yeah, go on, John.
Sorry, buddy. We'll talk over each other later. I just think that a lot of companies out there struggle. They know that what you just said is true, but they're struggling with how to pivot, for instance, their teams into effectively using social selling, effectively using LinkedIn. So I'm actually super curious, because I think a lot of the people out there who might see this would want to know what you would do, what you're doing, I guess, with your team to help enable them to succeed on LinkedIn and to pivot more towards social selling.
So I think it's about using the insight and some of the data that sits behind it. And it's about the education piece that says, if you look at some of the research saying more and more people are moving onto the socials, we then talk about this, the human side of it, that you want to be able to show up in those areas. There's that cultural change of getting people into that mindset. Now, obviously, I've come back into me because I did work for the business for 4.5 years previously, and I'd worked with Nick around some of these areas, and we got the ball rolling. So I'm now re-energizing some of the momentum that's being lost. But if I look at some of the people that really took on the mantra when we originally rolled it out, and I'm going to call out a great person that works within our business, Roy Westwick, our health and safety manager. Why did I put Roy on that training course? Because he is a technical authority. He's talking from a health and safety standpoint, from an audit perspective. He's now validating on his day-to-day work the things that we are doing that kind of lives our proposition. So this is the education piece, to say the more that we can elevate our technical people to showcase their skills and talk about case studies, talk about what were customers' pain points and how did we help them, rather than look at what contract we've won. No customer gets any value from that. Where they get the true nuggets from is where you're doing the education piece, and you're talking about, we understand your sector, and it's using that sector lens to really then throw back some of that narrative and use the case studies to say, we understand your world, and let's come in and talk about those areas further and collaborate and use a bit more insight around your business. And we're doing a lot more of a discovery and validation stage that backs this up. So that's really important. Some of the tasks and activities, we're not just rocking up to have a conversation. We've done a little bit of work based on the information that we can extract from our own database, but the real live information that you're getting from LinkedIn that's there just smacking you in the face day in, day out. And that's why I'm a real massive advocate for it, because you can just see the power of it, but you can see the amount of information that you can use and flip in different ways and utilize to get to your key target stakeholders.
I love the focus on the value, delivering value. I think that's super critical. I want to get to a couple of comments really quick because they're interesting. Chris Harrison here, LinkedIn's a gateway to connect with people in the correct markets and align goals, but you still need the relationship around good old face-to-face interactions. That's debatable, but the relationship is not, so we can get a great understanding of our clients. And then I also want to go to this. Danny, how do you plan to get buy-in from your team, Nick?
So what's the question there, sorry?
How do you plan to get buy-in from your team?
Yeah, so I think we've got some training planned coming down the way. So this is about then showing, first of all, some areas where this has worked. So where we can then show from original conversation on LinkedIn, how that's worked its way then through into normal sales channels to then give you some revenue lines. And like I say, when you're working from a cultural point of view as well, though, the buy-in that you're looking for is for is for people to understand, going back to what you mentioned there, John, about the value that you're trying to deliver to a customer. So what's our purpose? And what is the purpose of a seller? The purpose of a seller is to really understand the customer's needs and wants and what the key drivers are. How do you get that information? You get that information through rich insight. And where do you get insight from? You get that from your CRM system. You can get that from LinkedIn. You can get that from market reports. And it's then, how do you utilize that to then think about the channels that you use to stimulate your customer in where you know those customers turn up, which networks are they in, which awarding bodies do you want to sit in and post information into it. So I think sometimes you've got to sell the sizzle, not the sausage, to your teams, and they've got to be in it to win it. And also you've got to then turn around to say sometimes you will fail. Sometimes you will think that you've done something great and it just gets no interaction whatsoever. This comes back to the mindset that says, but you can learn from that. You can reassemble and think about what's the nuggets that you've learned and how do you then take that into your next area. And it's giving people an environment to fail, because I think sometimes people are very skeptical that if I'm putting something out there, it's out there to be judged, and you have to get past that mindset. And we all went through that together in the last training sessions that we did 4 years ago. We were all supporting each other. We had buddy systems in place. I'm a very kind of people-orientated individual, because I think that people are your greatest assets, and it's about that feedback process to make sure that the positives are being reconfirmed, but also then the learnings from any failings, still see that as a positive, because it means that you have taken yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And just the other comment there, Chris Harrison's actually one of my sellers. He's head of our external team, and actually Chris has embraced. He's looked. He wasn't part of the original training course when I did the business last time round. He will be this time, but he's watched and observed others, and he's thrown himself out there already. So
that's awesome.
I'll give him some kudos while he's online now to say, Chris, well
done.
Give him some props. Yeah. Going to Chris's point, to sort of invalidate some of Chris's data, he put however, that you still need the client relationships that need to be built around good old face-to-face interactions. Me and Nick have known each other for 4 years. We've only ever met once.
And there's a reason behind that, Nick.
The truth comes out. The truth comes out.
But this is what I'm saying, is that you can build genuine relationships digitally, and then they spill over into the real
I think what Chris is saying there, I think sometimes it's probably the presentations. That's where some of that real richness comes out, because you can feel the mood in the room, and you get a real understanding of people's body language. So I would probably think he's talk, because we do get called into a lot of technical presentations. So I'd probably speak on his behalf, but I think he probably might have meant that element of it. But I agree, is that I've got a lot of relationships with people online that I've never met face to face, and they're really strong.
It's I don't think there's any psychological difference between digital touch points and analog touch points in the real world versus the brain can't differentiate between the two, I don't think. We're going to finish up with a quick question, Nick. So what's a secret weapon you use? So a book, a podcast, a daily habit, something that you feel gives you an edge in your new role at the moment?
I think, it goes back to what we were talking before we came online, and people were sat there going, God, what conversation you've had before you got onto this podcast. But the stuff that I like to use is LinkedIn. I like to listen and listen to people's stories and look at what's relevant in this day and age, because that's the most up to date things that you're seeing. I use Flipboard as an aggregator of news stories as well, which then helps me to look at certain key areas around leadership, around motivation. So I'll scan those areas and find articles that I like to read in those areas. But I just like to keep my receptors open and just see what's going on in the market. And I do like to go out and see customers as well, because where you're going to get the most validation points from, you're going to get it from customers. So you'll see on my LinkedIn posts, I'm out quite often because you get to see the guys from a delivery perspective, but also you get in the customer interactions to see how we truly delivering our service promise. and also what are they seeing in how the world's changing. So I do like to try and keep myself really close to customers, because as soon as you get removed from there, you're dead in the water, aren't you? Because you're in the ivory towers making decisions about strategy without any kind of real validation proof points, which is voice of the customer.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think we're up to time, John.
I just had to throw some of these comments on here. Chris
Yeah.
says, yeah, you got it. That's exactly what he did mean. And I also wanted to throw this out here from Steve saying, great hearing this from a construction sector perspective. So I think you had some very important and interesting things to say to people who benefited from hearing it. And I want to, again, thank you for taking the time, Nick, to come on here and share your experiences with us, share your tactics and your strategy, and even just big picture outlook with us, because I think it was very valuable. And for everybody tuning in LinkedIn land, I want to thank you for tuning in as well. And be looking for us for the next episode. It'll be coming soon. This is John and Nick with True North Social, and our guest Nick Marshall from Omega Red saying bye, and we will catch you next time.
See you later, guys.
Thank you.
Lost in the noise for all the world to see, stuck in the silence with no one to guide the way. You're searching for your future, a better, brighter day. This is the expedition, a new path we will